our last video, we did a glue resist with watercolor, and we did it on watercolor paper. Well, in this one, I want to show you how the effect changes when you use a canvas. So I'm using just a canvas panel, so it's like a stiff type of chipboard covered with a canvas and gesso. I'll put a link in the description so that you can find this on Amazon. We get them by the, I think, 36 pack, and they're so cheap. So I wanted to show you how this works, the same technique but with a different substrate, which is our background. So what I'm going to do is open up my glue again, and I want to make sure that it's actually working. And I'm just going to create random patterns or designs, probably no pattern whatsoever. And I will speed up the video a bit during this so that you don't have to watch the entire process. But I'm going to let it dry before we come back. And when we come back, we're going to do the same process, but we're going to find that we get a completely different result. All right, it took overnight for this to dry. Oops, I got some watercolor on my fingers already. This is the glue. You can see the shiny part. That's the clear glue and how it dried. And so now I'm going to let down my brush. I've already sprayed down my palette. And I'm going to just do some random colors like we've been doing all over this canvas. I am going to choose to do less water and more pigment. And so I'm just mixing in my different colors. Let's grab some purple before I forget that. Ooh, that's got some brown in it. And then, of course, I'm going to go, oh, I've about run out of my favorite pink over here. I need to put some more on my palette. I definitely want pink in here. And of course, we'll do some yellows and oranges, just trying not to overlap them and muddy them up too much. So once again, all of these techniques in this particular playlist series are things that you can do without thinking. You just pop in your earbuds, put in your favorite music. I prefer classical or 80s or praise and worship. Just put them on and play. Don't try to create the most beautiful art piece. Just create. Just enjoy the process. Just play with your various art media. This series is all about watercolors and different mediums you can combine and what you can come up with We're going to do some monochrome videos. We're going to do acrylics and lots of other different art media. But we are just playing, so I want to make sure that I cover the entire canvas. I don't want to see any white areas. I'm going to switch back and get me some more of this turquoise blue. And of course it will make some orange, greens and purples. It's not showing up as much, so I'm going to get some of this Prussian blue, which I absolutely adore, and kind of pop that in here. See how much darker that is? I really want some darker values for this because this technique is completely different than the glue resist we did with watercolor paper. All right, so I'm going to come in and get a little bit deeper green as well. Just keep playing around with it. Just moving my brush around. Definitely want to add in more yellow. I actually have a little bit of green still in my bristles. And I'm going to go back over with my pink. All right, so whenever you feel like you're done, you're going to take a wet paper towel, and all you're going to do is very carefully pull up some of the colors. All right, so I've pulled it up. Now I'm going to just turn it inside out and just do a little wipe. I love that. Okay, so what I would do probably is just allow this to dry and maybe come back and add in a little bit more of the color, because when you wipe it off, it's going to take some of that brightness out. And I love the brightness, and I lost a little bit of my pinks. But let me show you the difference between the glue resist with the canvas and the glue resist on watercolor paper. So here's the paper we did this lesson. But because this is watercolor paper and made for watercolors, it absorbs the color. And you can see this one was sort of a spiral, crazy. I was going for a tie-dye effect. I didn't make it fan out like a tie-dye, but it's got a cool look to it. However, canvases are actually made for acrylic and oil painting and not watercolor. So you've got the glue is actually absorbing the colors, whereas the gesso that is in the canvas is doing a bit of a resist. So you have the opposite effect going on here. So I love this, and like I said, I'm probably going to come back in with pinks and just add a little bit in, maybe some pops of blue again, because I lost some of that, and let it all dry. But this is a glue resist on a canvas.